Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody. I'll just do the small introductory chant, paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhanam sangham namasami. So I recognize a few faces there. It's very nice to see you again. And as I always say, I'm going to do the same old thing that I've done probably for the last 10, 15 years. You'd think I'd be bored with it by now, but no. It's like meditation. If anybody says they're bored, it's boring, they're not meditating. Because just being in that open, spacious awareness is very, very interesting, but not interesting from our normal analytical mindset, but interesting from a more intuitive approach. So what I encourage here, and I normally stick around, well, I really try to stick around Anicca Dukkha Anatta and the Four Noble Truths, which are the basics, the very basics of Buddhism. And that, for me, is extremely important because we tend to want to not do the basics. We want to go on, we want to be able to play the piano without having done the practice. So by looking at the Four Noble Truths, for instance, suffering, there is suffering. Suffering is, it's normally said it's age, sickness, and death. And that's true, but it goes very, very much deeper than this. We are used to, life is like walking on hot coals. It's continually sort of, it's okay, it's what we're used to, but, you know, we start to get glimpses of what it's like to walk on the grass verge. So truly knowing suffering, truly knowing the mind, so to speak, seeing the tricks and games we get up to by avoiding, by trying to fixate, trying to change, denying change. You know, it's easy to say, oh yeah, even Mount Everest is changing, everything changes. But how is it when there's a crisis in our life? Do we know that will change? Not normally. We suffer from it. We cling to it, not intentionally, not even consciously. But the problem is that we're not just openly aware of that. We're humans, so of course we'll suffer. They say in this lovely Indian saying, I like, pain is compulsory, but suffering from pain is optional. Suffering is compulsory, but suffering from suffering is optional. It comes from what we add on top. We add sankharas on top of these things. Whatever the problem is, then we start to try and get away from it, or try to improve ourselves, trying to be even good meditators, trying to be enlightened, trying to get away from all my suffering. It's all desire to be something else instead of opening, just opening to the way it is, knowing that suffering in the body, knowing it. And if we don't feed it, if we don't reject it or trying to grasp other ways, then we're not feeding it. And it thrives on this food, the food of denial, the food of attachment, the food of trying to get rid of things. So getting to truly know what causes our suffering, getting truly not to react to it, but to respond to it in a more wise, intuitive way. And the second noble truth is the cause of suffering, which is oftentimes you see it's desire, but I think more it's attachment to the desire. Of course we'll desire, we're human beings, we're animals, we're feeling animals. But do we have to suffer from our desires? If we can't get what we want, we can either have a big problem of it, a problem, or we can just say, okay, but not feeding that desire. There's the desire to become, as we've looked with suffering, to become something else. Oh, I'm going to come to the Buddhist Society and I'm going to practice my meditation and I'm going to bring an end to all this suffering and really change everything and be happy for the rest of my life. It's not quite the way it works. Not that we have to do this to realize what we're up to. And it's when the search ends that we start to truly awaken to the way it is. And that desire to get away from things. I don't like this. I don't like that. When we get home this evening or wherever we are, notice when you walk in the house, oh, it's cold, you switch the heating on. Oh, it's hot, you turn the heating down. Oh, I turn the radio on, I turn the TV on. Nothing wrong with any of these things. But first, contemplate. It's cold. What is that feeling? Cold. And then turn on the heat. To do whatever you need to do. But don't keep reacting to sensations, desires. The same with when we're meditating. For instance, our knees could be painful. It could start to hurt. So what do? We just move. Nothing wrong with moving. Maybe in the traditional Zen practice, but I'm saying, look at those feelings before. What is that feeling? Is it mine? Is it real? And then, if needs be, move your legs. Respond to the situation, not just react. Through this practice of looking to see how we are grasping the becoming, the desire to get away from, starting to understand that, starting to find a place that is not caught up in this grasping. And this isn't so difficult. If we are truly present in the moment, right now, you feel your knees or your feet or your hands or whatever. How is your mind in that very moment? Can anybody tell me that they could improve on anything in this very moment? I have never met anybody who can, because in this present moment, there just is awareness. If we don't project, We don't add thoughts on top of it. So this, although it may only last for a fraction of a second, is a cessation of suffering, third noble truth. So through the practice, the continual practice of being mindful, being aware, being in our consciousness, we start to feel at home in that place. And I say that because we're such control freaks. We like to control ourselves, the world, other people around us to make it all better. We cannot make it all better. And there's no need to try that. But once we truly see our conditioning, our views and opinions, we start to let go. We start to see cessation. And in that quiet, open spaciousness, we can live normally. It doesn't stop us going to work, doing whatever we need to do, reading a book, watching the TV, going to the films. Nothing changes except it's seen from that place of open awareness. Now, oftentimes people talk, mindfulness is very fashionable. It's losing its fashion a little bit, but I think that people see mindfulness as, well, I certainly did, and I think a few other people do. I am picking my glasses up now and I'm putting them on my head and I'm all very aware. I don't think that's mindfulness. I am walking really slowly. I am with my feet. I'm really aware. I don't think that's mindfulness. It's consciousness. If we do those same practices from that open, spacious awareness, then that's something quite different. Self, we start to see prior to our conditioning, into our true nature, into our Buddha nature, into that true awareness with open, spacious mindfulness. And things start to genuinely transform. We genuinely open up. The teachings start to make real sense. Instead of me, that's wonderful, and I grasp that wonderful, those wonderful wise words. They're not mine. I just appropriated another idea to add to my millions of other ideas and thoughts and views. So what's most important is we find this open awareness, which is, as I say, it's not difficult. We only have to be with the body's the easiest thing because it cannot lie to us. The mind will always try and trick us. But just being with that, just noticing that. Now, what's most important is the Eightfold Path, the fourth of the Four Noble Truths, because then we can bring that mindfulness, that true awareness into every aspect of our life. Right view, right thought, right speech, right action, into everything. And this is what truly changes our... See, I want to be really careful with words here, because if you grasp whatever and it's... it allows us just to be. Just to be. I'm not in the way anymore. Everything isn't coming through this veil or this screen of that I'm living behind, this mask, this persona, which I'm living behind and believing in it. We believe in the soap opera. We take part in the soap opera. Nothing wrong with the soap opera, but why not stand outside the soap opera and know the game that's going on? And we can be within it, but we have this clarity of the illusion and delusion that most people have because of their conditioning. They're conditioned from a couple of years of age by their parents, unintentionally. It's all they know. By their schooling, by society, by the government, by everything. And we're gullible. We take it all in and believe it. And we believe we're separate. But seeing through that illusion, through constantly being aware, and we have to, because we are control freaks, we have to prove it to ourselves by continually doing this, that we can trust it, because we don't like to let go. I'll come back on that. We cannot let go. We cannot let go, but there is a letting go when we are in the present moment, in that open, spacious awareness. It's automatic. But once we start to, sometimes you hear, just let go. I can't see that that's possible, because who's trying to let go? But it's not that complicated. It's a simple practice of remembering, noticing when the mind, our deluded mind, gets carried away into our thoughts, views and opinions, just coming back, using the body, using the breath, using the sound of silence, whatever. Everything is an opportunity. Everything. Really, we cannot make a genuine excuse for not being able to do it. It's just because everything is an opportunity. Your feelings, your sensations, your temperature, just feeling these things, the listening without grasping these words. You know, I don't want to tell anybody anything. I want to encourage them to look for themselves, and that's it. So what I normally do is a guided sweeping meditation, and I'll do that not too sometimes I can go quite deeply into very small parts of the body. I don't think it's absolutely necessary all the time. But this, I might say, be aware of the top of the head. Now, this isn't projecting pictures or thoughts about the top of the head. If there's just a light awareness, and perhaps you cannot be aware of the top of the head, perhaps the top of your head disappears. Perhaps the whole body disappears without us projecting pictures onto it. I might say, be aware of the fingernails. I cannot be aware of the fingernails and never have been truly aware of my fingernails, but I can be aware of how my mind is. I call it my heart mind. Heart of the mind is in that very moment. And this is my encouragement here. No more than that. I encourage it so strongly because we are awakened, but the problem is we don't believe it. So we truly have to see through this illusion that we live in, this conditioned world this world of samsara, which we create and project. We see through that. So we start to see things the way they are. But just especially here, and then even more, especially, if that makes sense, when we leave this room, we walk down those steps, we're with the feet, we're not projecting onto the feet, we're perhaps talking to somebody, we're not projecting onto that, but we're hearing them, we're responding to them, but we're not grasping, we're doing it from that open, spacious awareness. And that allows it starves our views and opinions, for one. It sounds like I'm starving it. It's not that way. There is a natural starvation of it. I think that'll do. Get lost. So we'll meditate for. No, I must clarify that. We'll formally meditate for about 20 minutes. I say formally because I truly do not believe there is any difference between this meditation and the awareness walking down the stairs. Awareness is awareness. This is building a solid foundation, but we have to take it into our ordinary everyday life. Going to the car, going catch a bus or a train. It's all an opportunity. Okay, so sitting ideal, I'm talking ideals here, not everybody's body is able to, ideally hands together in either grasp lightly or in the traditional lotus, they call it lotus flower. Head slightly pushed up. Now, many people probably can't sit at all in that position, and they're sitting in a chair, and that's absolutely fine. As I say, there is never not an opportunity to be aware, but just using, so to speak, using the body. So when you start to go off into a dream, which is inevitable, and that's what our confused mind does, it's divisive by nature. Just come back. The body will remind you. The hands will remind you, because the hands will slacken off. The eyes will start to go all over the place, or we'll start to slouch. These are nothing wrong with these things. They're saying to us, look at where you are. They're good friends. Mara is a good friend of ours. If we don't try and defeat it, which again, we cannot, because we are Mara. I prefer sitting with my eyes slightly slitted open, but that's really up to you, what you're used to. It's probably easier to go off into a dream state with the eyes closed, less easy with them slightly slitted, not focused. And just being aware, just noticing the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Not projecting pictures onto it, not commenting on certain feelings, just the way it is, from a point of light, open, spacious awareness. So now becoming aware of the top of the head and the back of the head. As I say, what we're interested in is that awareness, not the sensations or the projections or the pictures, just how the mind, to call it the mind, is aware. There's nothing to get here, there's nothing to gain or become. There's just open, spacious awareness. So becoming aware of the sides of the head and the ears. And the earlobes. What happens to your mind when you Try to become aware of your earlobes. Just be in that open, spacious, intuitive awareness. So now becoming aware of the forehead, and the eyebrows, and the eyes, and the nose, and the nostrils, and the lips, and the mouth, and the tongue. And the chin, and the jaw, and the cheeks of the face. It's really not relevant whether you can be aware of any of these parts or the whole of the parts, but you can know that quiet, open awareness. Becoming aware of the breathing, not following the breath, not concentrating on the breath, not placing the breath in any particular part, say as in the nose or the throat or the chest, just the natural, normal breathing, that light awareness. Becoming aware of the neck and the throat, and the shoulders, and the arms, and the shoulders down to the elbows. There's nothing to think about here. From the elbows down to the wrists. And the hands, the palms of the hands, the thumbs, the fingers, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, the backs of the hands, the knuckles, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and the fingernails. What happens to your mind when we look at the fingernails without projecting. I certainly cannot be aware of them. But I don't need to be, but I can know that place of open, spacious awareness that isn't dumb or stupid. Now bringing our hands, our arms, the shoulders, the neck, the face and the head into that awareness. Maybe you cannot, maybe it disappears. It's fine. So now becoming aware of the back from the shoulders down through the shoulder blades, down the sides of the trunk, down the spine, the arch of the back. Maybe noticing any extra energies in the small of the back. Just be aware of them. Do not interfere or question or analyze. Down through the coccyx and the buttocks and the hips. So now becoming aware of the chest and the shoulders down through the rib cage, lungs, the diaphragm, sides of the trunk, the stomach, belly, the navel, perhaps the hara, just below the navel. Maybe there are extra energies going on there, but again, do not analyze, do not grasp, do not wonder. Just be aware. Down through the intestines, through to the groin and the hips. Now bringing into that awareness, without grasping or projecting, the whole of the body, from the hips up to the shoulders, the back and the front, the hands, the arms, the neck, the head and the face. Knowing that gentle, natural, normal breathing. Listening. And letting that awareness spread down from the hips, down the legs to the knees. the tops of the legs, the backs of the legs, the sides of the legs. Noticing any sensations. Now from the knees down to the ankles. And just being aware of any sensations, any discomfort. Look at those feelings, just be open to them. And from the ankles down the feet, the heels of the feet, the soles of the feet, the balls of the feet, the toes, the tips of the toes. Being aware of the tops of the feet, the sides of the feet, the joints of the toes, the tips of the toes, and the toenails. You're bringing the whole of your body from the tips of the toes to the top of your head into that awareness. As I say, if the body has disappeared, do not attach to that even. Do not search for, do not project. Just be aware. We're going back to the breath. Just that normal, natural breathing. Maybe listening to the sound of silence. Not to the outside sounds. Certainly not rejecting outside sounds, but they come and they go. Again, when the mind does what it does, which is wanders off, gently, very gently, with true metta, with loving kindness, come back, using the body, a part of the body, the whole of the body, the breath, the sound of silence. Awareness is awareness. naturally learning to trust that awareness. So even right now, continue with that awareness. There's no reason why we cannot be aware of our stretching, our even what on earth is he talking about? We can be aware of the feelings without grasping. You've probably heard me, those who have sat with me before, say, it's like something has just come down from outer space that it's never been seen before, but I've got it in my hand and I turn it around. I can't name it. I can't give it a name. I don't know what it is. And that's how we meditate. That's that open, spacious awareness. Now, I'm not saying this is a dumb, stupid practice. We can introduce questions. What is this non-self the Buddha seems to be about? What is this? Can anybody find a self at the moment? Especially the people that are sitting in front of me. If you truly look for a self without projecting thoughts, without our conditioning in that present moment, can anybody find a person who's thinking? I can't find a person who's talking. There is talking happening, but it's not me. It's happening. It's human. Only when I grasp it and try to think, well, this is what I need to say, or that's whatever. Just talking. Is it you who's thinking? Or is it just happening? When you leave here and you walk, who is it who's walking? Can anybody find a person that's walking? You can say, well, obviously it's me who's walking. But if you truly look from that place of open awareness, there's nobody there walking. And this, you don't believe what I'm saying. Experiment, but not in an analytical way of pulling things apart, looking inside. No, just open up. Let the teachings be seeds that you read something in the scripture or whatever, instead of thinking, oh yeah, let that seed go into you, so to speak, and it will germinate when the conditions are right. When something happens, there'll be a true understanding, not just an intellectual grasping. And the difference is, if it's intellectually grasped, the next small or big crisis we have will fall apart. But if it's genuinely understood, it's genuinely seen, then there is just a response, possibly the correct response to the situation. But it's different. It's no longer a separate self. And as I say, I really don't want to convince you of anything at all here. I just want to suggest that you try this particular approach. Simple. Keep it simple. Don't believe the mind. It's not what you think, because it's not what you think. As soon as we try to think it out, we've got in the way again. That's our condition. That's our conditioning. That's our views and opinions. So let's look somewhere else. Many, many people struggle for years and years and years practicing. And, well, I've been practicing, I've been really serious meditator, and I've done this and I've done that. And still, I have to cope with my boss and the wife and the kids and my partners, it's all after all those years. People I've done many, many long retreats, people go home from a retreat and say, my practice fell apart when I got home, because of all the things that were happening. You haven't been practicing. I remember I was on a Luang Por Sumedho retreat. It was a two-week retreat in those days. And I was running my own business. So I said to him, do you mind if I disappear for a couple of days each week, just because I've got to cover certain things in London? Fine, that's fine. And I'm driving down the motorway and I go, my God, all these cars coming like this, and I've just been meditating. Then I realized I'd completely missed the point. Instead of being open and responding, I was clinging to how it should be. That was it was a landmark for me, because then I could look afresh and stop trying to become something different and interfering. Shall we sit for another period? And then please, anybody who's live here or online, I really welcome questions, because it's, I think this is very important. And if we truly do persistently, consistently remember to come back, there is a natural transformation in our view on life, in our reaction, in our response to life. I'll just give the occasional reminder just to come back to the present moment, should we get a little bit lost. I doubt it. So just being with the body, a part of the body, the breath, sound of silence. Nothing special here, nothing complicated, just being aware of when the mind wanders. When we are aware of the mind wandering, we're automatically back in the present moment. So just allow the mind to return if it's wandering, perhaps choosing a specific part of the body, the whole of the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence. Maybe looking at a question like, is there a self? Not analysing, just pose the question. And look, do not answer. If you answer it, it has to be wrong. Making a small adhitthana, which is a small determination not to get something, or even to be better at being aware, but just to notice when we are in a dream again. Always investigating with that open heart, not looking for answers, just looking in an open investigation. Not concentrating, but using the body as in just moving your awareness to another part if it keeps wandering from a certain part on the whole of the body. Seeing what works, so to speak. Not sticking to it because it probably won't work tomorrow. But just noticing, being that open, spacious awareness. And the practice does itself, so to speak, without us in the way. sometimes as time goes on, the mind becomes a little bit more restless. So just putting that little bit extra energy into being aware, not to get or become, but just to be being aware. Being that awareness. So does anybody have any questions or queries or comments or criticisms or whatever? Or not quite getting what I'm trying to encourage?
When you say,
I'm sorry?
when you say don't concentrate, in the sitting you said don't concentrate on the breath. How does that reconcile with trying to get a one-pointed experience of the breath? Makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't. It's the, I understood that when you're focusing on the breath, that's what you're trying to focus on to the exclusion of everything else. And if you don't concentrate, how do you achieve that focus?
You don't need to focus. Just that awareness. You see, as far as I can see, all of these different practices of focusing, of doing concentration practices are all leading back to this awareness. But the problem that I see over the many years is people, because of their practicing from this place of conditioning, they're trying to become. So they become more and more concentrated. So what? There's no wisdom arising there. It's just concentration, which if somebody walks into the causes of fuss now, we start to think, what's he doing? I meditate. We fall apart because we've forgotten why we're doing this. So this is why I encourage so much the way I do, because it's I'm sorry for people who have heard me say this. It's like somebody wants to get to the other side of the valley, so they have to put a tight rope, and they have to learn to walk on that rope. And they practice and they practice and they practice, and they get halfway, and they're so good at it. They're totally concentrate. They can do handstands, they can swing, they can stand on one leg. And other people actually look at them and say, oh, wonderful, you do all these wonderful things. But it's forgotten what the idea of getting to the other side. We get stuck in the practices, in the techniques. Nothing wrong with techniques, but because we're doing it from a position of being strongly conditioned in becoming, then we get stuck. So I'm encouraging, let's look for this open awareness. Once we are more at home with that, we trust that, then we can, if we want to do more concentration, and we start to see why we're doing the concentration, because it's never the technique, it's never the concentration that's going to liberate you. But if we wonder, why am I doing this? If we start to notice that when I'm focused one-pointed, the mind is at peace. The heart is open. So I'm in a way, I'm getting to encourage the basics of Buddhism first, and then we can practice from then on. But when we do it the other way around, which is the way it's encouraged mainly, and the way I spent so many years doing that, perfecting techniques, sitting long periods, not doing this, not doing that, but forgetting why. So that's why I'm encouraging something else. Look introspectively, look within, find that place, and then things start to make sense. So that's why I'm not encouraging concentration. Concentration itself implies that I'm trying to get something, because I'm trying to concentrate. I'm trying to be better at concentration. If we get stuck on that point, we can do that for the rest of our life. We can perhaps even think that we're good practitioners. But the proof of the pudding is when something happens and we're back in the same old rut of suffering. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not putting anything down on that side, but why? The question is why. There is some written messages, hard for me to see them. I'll see what it says. This person, when they do meditation, they continue to go back to being with the breath. Is it right or wrong? It really does. Awareness is awareness, whether you're with the breath, the feeling in the knees, this finger, my fingernails, or no thing. Awareness is awareness. So whatever suits at the time. They say a good meditator has a toolbox with many, many tools in it, tools that suit the situation we're in. That's why I don't go for concentration. I shift attention because it's much easier for a short time to get to know that place. Instead, if we try and stick to it, it's not going to work. But if we continually, in every moment, and then, as I say, when we leave here and we walk down the road, we can be with our feet. We can be with the feelings of the cold air or the drizzle or whatever. Just noticing that. So whatever. But don't cling to the practice. Don't make deals with the Dharma. If I do this, I may be liberated. If I do that, I'll be good at this. Doesn't work. Doesn't work at all.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Yeah. Is it okay to sort of mix and match, like to start with some metta meditation, and then as you calm down, then to go to focus in body scanning, and then see how that moves you along the journey?
Absolutely. Whatever works, as long as you don't believe in them. Because believing in them is just concepts, are just ideas, and we're so conditioned, we attach to all of these things. Yeah, that metta meditation, going through that whole meditation. But again, ask yourself why. There's one of the great Zen masters, Zen teachers, who he named the sixth patriarch, and in his platform sutta, he said, this is to do with the bodhisattva ideal. How can I, holy name, liberate all sentient beings? It's not possible. I can't do it. But what I can do is I can liberate all the beings within my own mind. You know, getting to know that, getting to open up, let those things. And Ajahn Chah from forest tradition says, the still forest pool. The mind is just a still forest pool. And these animals, crocodiles, buffaloes, they come and drink from that pool. Normally we go, oh, go away, I don't like these things, you know. They come and they go. And the less we fight them, we disempower them. If we don't try to get rid of them, it's attaching to them. The same as trying to get them. It's all the same. So yeah, if it works, if it helps you, great. Not getting much from the people online. Must be a question. Come on. Jeff.
It's Phil Shirley.
Oh, yeah.
I missed that, Jeff. Did you?
Jeff.
Yes, I was just putting my microphone on. Can you hear me now?
Just about.
Okay, I'll try to speak a bit louder. When I started meditating, I had difficulty getting into the practice. And what seemed to help me was when I made an analogy with eating my meals, when I took a moment to be grateful for the food I was eating. It was easier to be mindful of what I was eating. And when I started seeing meditation as an expression of gratitude, it suddenly became a whole lot easier, and possibly the reason I do it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the practices for the bhikkhus, for the monks, when they're eating. When we're eating, we're generally all over the place, all around the universe. But just to be with that eating, yeah, it's extremely good practice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Stick with it. But again, not as a thing that you're going to get something from it, but just for its own sake. Just. You know, I remember once I lived in Amaravati Monastery as a layman for a couple of years, helping to manage the retreat centre. And one day, on the opening of Amaravati in 1999, I think it was, all these very famous monks came over from all over the world and from Thailand, and a very wise monk was there, and I came along pushing a wheelbarrow. I was helping set things up. I pushed the wheelbarrow, and he looked at me and he said, do it just for its own sake. You know, not for anything special, just to get the wheelbarrow where I was going, without looking forward, but just for its own sake. And we eat just for its own sake. We don't eat to really know, you know, we're aware of the tastes, but we're not indulging in the tastes. We're just for its own sake. I found that a very useful thing to have, to realize, to be with. When I do this, just for its own sake, not to become, not to get somewhere, but just to be. Does it make any sense, Jeff?
Yes, thanks a lot.
Good. Yeah, you can use another word for mindfulness, for awareness, for bare attention. They're all just words. They're all pointing at the same thing, as far as I can see. This, this is in the Tao, Taoism, they say the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. I think that's the way it's said. So any of these words, they're not the thing. They're just words. So you can use, if you need to use words, use the words you want to. We can't be. Can somebody tell me what warm is as against cold? You have to experience it. You have to drink that water to know what warm is against cold. Can anybody tell a blind man what blue is if he's never seen colour? That's very much in line with the practice. We have to get to know that through being aware and truly experience. Words are so difficult here. Experiencing it. It's not me, it's not you experiencing it. It's just open experience in the now, in the present moment. So yes, of course, whatever words, but do not attach to the words. Do not believe the words are it. They're just words. They're just concepts. They can be useful, as I've said before, as seeds that will ripen, will germinate when the conditions are right. But if we attach to them, we try and bring them into reality, it doesn't work. Normally, Colin reads these things out for me, so it's a tough life, this, I don't know if some of this is missing. It says, practice if one only meditates once or twice a week. Well, it's better than nothing, but I would suggest that you meditate every waking moment that you're awake. And that doesn't mean to say sitting on a cushion or a chair. It means to be aware in that awareness in all situations. But, in the scriptures, meditation needs to be in the four postures: standing, walking, sitting, and lying down. And that includes everything in between. So if you can't we tend to think meditation, I've got to do something special. If you can't do that special thing more than once, twice a week, fine. But be aware in your normal, everyday actions, lifestyle. What do you think about having periods of self-denial like Lent, maybe giving up things that are not so good for us? Cakes. Well, it sounds like extreme practice to me. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, but I must be clear, this is not about self-flagellation. It's not about beating ourselves up at all to get somewhere, to gain something. But if it's genuine from the heart, we're genuinely stopping eating whatever for a period or for good. If it's genuinely from the heart and not that it's I'm going to make a deal that if I give up cake, I'm going to awaken. Not that I've given up cake to try and awaken. That's extreme for me. I don't think I could do that. I'm joking, by the way. Okay. Someone had their hand up for a question. Well, I don't know who that is.
Hi, Ajahn Barry.
Hello.
That is me. U1134269. Archie, in other words.
Okay. Hello, Archie. I know you.
Yeah, sorry. I'm cheating. I'm on my works computer, but anyway. So, but anyway, I was just going to say, if you were trying to tell somebody about Dharma, but they had never heard of it before, what would you introduce them to, for example? I mean, would you say, well, we can do this meditation, but then you might have to tell them some basic techniques to get them started, so to speak, right? So,
yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's never worked for me that I've tried to encourage somebody. But what has worked, sometimes unintentionally, is I've just left a book around, or I've just said something, or people, sometimes people look at you and think, oh, what are you into? What are you up to? Because you're quite stable, so to speak. It's very, unless they show interest, if they showed interest, I would direct them to Luang Por Sumedho's writings, Teachings of a Buddhist Monk, or Don't Take Your Life Personally. I would think they're more useful than the traditional scriptures, which are really useful once you are genuinely interested in the Dhamma. I don't know what to say, really. I really wouldn't. It's never worked for me unless they ask. And it's always a rule as a bhikkhu, as a monk. You're not allowed to proselytize. But if people genuinely ask a question, yes, fine. Do you ever get to the monasteries, to Amaravati or Chittoors?
No, I don't actually. Not. I go to one called Hartridge sometimes.
Okay, Hartridge. Yeah, I lived there for a couple of years. Yeah.
Well, I occasionally get down there. Yeah.
They'll have free books there.
Yeah.
Introductory to Insight Meditation, etc. And they are very good. I'd try maybe leaving one that they'll trip over it and not hurt themselves, of course. Yeah. I don't really know. Just play it by ear. Be a good example. Maybe get a bit of a conversation going, but not pushing them. Not, you need to want to do this.
Okay.
Any other questions, queries?
I'm not long into this, so it's so difficult. It seems it's so difficult to articulate what it is because it's experiencing it, it's doing it. So, and I listen to all the different things, and I always think I've got it. What you're saying, then I go and I think, well, hang on. it kind of goes again. Is it something between some discipline and mixing up discipline and relaxing into it? But, so not, you know, like you're saying, not concentration, I understand that.
Yeah. But awareness.
But it is a bit like being strict enough to do it, but softening and relaxing, that a starting point.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the early days of practice, we need a form, you know,
Exactly.
and I would suggest to people, as they do in the Zen thing, if you know, try and sit for a bit before you go to bed.
Yes.
Try, you know, when you wake up in the morning, if possible, try and do formal meditation then. Or if you can't do that, just lie in bed and sweep through the body, you know, using all different things, and bring that into a form. That's something you're going to do before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Try not to make excuses. Why not?
I've been doing it.
Yeah. But, you know, I know how we are, I know how I was. And I would, well, tonight, you know, I'm feeling a bit tired. I don't think I'll bother. I'll just go to bed. These are the best times.
Well, I'm the opposite. I'm absolutely doing it, so maybe I should relax a bit. I mean, when I'm doing it, not.
Yeah.
So I was presuming it's somewhere between being too regimented, because that would be my problem. Is I would be too strict.
Okay. So you can feel the seat you're sitting on now.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And how is your mind when you're sitting on? When you're feeling that, without thinking? Fine. Okay. What more do you want? You know, yeah, I mean, if certain form helps you, supports you, but do not become another obsession.
No.
Because, you know, we discover Buddhism, or, you know, before I was brought up as a Christian, I was Jewish, or I was this, or I was that, a Hindu or Baha'i faith, you know, and all we tend to do is to grasp another belief system. And it's just a belief system. It's just a belief system. It's another attachment. So learning to be consistently, persistently coming back. Okay, so, well, I'll give a little story. I went to, I'd been around for many years. I went to Italy to ordain as a forest monk, the Amravati, and nobody knew me in Italy. I'd lived in Amravati for many years. So I'm put in a kuti in the woods, far from anybody else, and I'm there for 23 hours a day. And this is a bit of so I'm thinking, oh, well, you know, I've got all this time now. All I need to do is to go get my meal. I think I'll meditate. And I thought, well, hang on, formal meditation. I thought, hang on, I'm just escaping. I'm just escaping the boredom. So I'd be with that boredom. And then I would sit when that boredom lost its power. I think I'll go and do walking meditation. Well, hang on, is this just avoiding nothing to do? So I would, in a way, challenge it just by being bored or watching that desire to distract myself, even into meditation. Always looking at that, coming back. So use that, approach it with that feeling. Again, there's that why, but not an intellectual why, not, oh, I understand now, but, you know, that natural open awareness. Okay? I think time is getting on. It's nearly 8:10. So I, as usual, wish everybody well and keep it simple. Please keep it simple. There's nothing to get here. There's nothing to gain. There's only a letting go, and it's not us individually who let go. There is a natural letting go when we are truly openly aware from that point of our intuition. So take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.